Hey, what's up? It's Saweetie. I'm back for round 2 with Nyx on hardknocktv. Make sure you watch all this shit because we talking about a lot of good things in here. And I'm excited for this new EP that's out. Make sure you purchase it, stream it, and let me know what you think.
You've been on me for so long. What's one more night alone? I might not pick up the phone, but I still want you to call me.
Are you already working on your debut album?
Well, I've already started to work on my second EP, which will be coming out before my birthday. And
When's your birthday?
July 2nd.
Oh wow, so right around the corner.
Yeah. But as far as the album, I feel like I'm always just simultaneously working on that because there's just records that are just too big to put on an EP. And I have a couple of those. So it's kind of like I haven't locked in for an album, but I have songs that are for my album that I've already recorded.
If you could have any dream features on the EP or on the album, who would be some of the artists that come to mind?
You already know who it is.
I know. Is there anybody outside of
J. Cole?
Yeah.
Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love
You
to
guys
work
did the
with her.
commercial together.
I was in her commercial.
You were in her commercial.
I haven't been able to meet her yet, but I think she's just a great blueprint for someone who just continues to get better and better and better. And her style is amazing, her personality is dope, and she's a great businesswoman. So not only would I like to collaborate, with her, I'd like to just sit down and just pick her brain. Because for someone to have that longevity and to be that relevant still in today's culture is just amazing.
Now, I remember last time you were here, we were talking about like the old school days of like female posse cuts and how you like, it would be cool now to be something like that kind of like shows women unity because the media and everyone always tries to pit, like there's only room for like one dope female at a time.
Right.
Is that something that you pursued any further? Is that something you still want to do?
It's something that has definitely circulated amongst the industry. I think I'd love to be the person to put it together, but I think a person in a better position needs to orchestrate that. But I think a dope like ladies' night or a dope just, not even a ladies' night, because like I said, it's important to draw from the past, but this is the now.
Right.
So I think it'd be dope to just have a dope female record to where it's just a whole bunch of dope ass girls on it.
We're gonna manifest that into happening.
Definitely.
Speaking of dope ass females, I think you have a few dates coming up with Cardi in July. Is that like a mini tour? Is like there was like a 3 or 4 dates, or?
It's a mini tour and other dates are in the works, but I'm just so excited to be able to open for her because she's really like dominating the game right now. So I'd even like to sit down with her and just like hear some tips because I'm like a learner. So I like to just know what's going on so I can just perfect what I'm doing.
Do you know the type of things you would ask her?
I definitely ask like, how do you deal with controversy? How do you deal with like a positive mindset? Because I hate to focus on the negativity, but because, it kind of comes with the territory, like I'm human at the end of the day. So when I see shit that just doesn't make me feel good, like it can ruin my day sometimes. But it's important for us as artists to rise above it. And I've seen her in the media a lot, deal with a lot of stuff like that. But she continues to get better. She continues to get dope. She continues to get number ones. So I just want to like ask her, like, how does she keep her brain focused on the positivity?
I love that she's very vulnerable and she's like, hey, I'm not perfect. I've done things in the past that I'm not necessarily proud of, but it's like, it was all part of my journey and I'm here now.
Right.
So it's like, take it all for what it is.
Right.
Which I think is refreshing, not just as a female artist, but as any artist, as a human being. It's just kind of like, I think we try so hard to be perfect that it's like, none of us are perfect. We've all done different things that we've grown for.
And I think the idea of the ideal celebrity is kind of shifting, as you can see with these reality shows and with social media. Because back in the day, like, artists were like damn near perfect.
Right, because we didn't know anything.
We didn't know anything about them.
Only what they showed us.
So it's definitely shifting, but with that shift comes, not even just fans, but like regular people having access to you that they wouldn't have had before. So like, someone is just a tweet, a comment, or an email away. So I think it's just important for us as artists to make sure our mental health is good.
What do you do to kind of like keep that mental health in the middle of like all this craziness?
I talked to my homegirl Sabrina. She's like great with like wisdom, and she's helped me get through a lot of difficult social media times. Because like I said, like, we're artists, we have emotions, we have, you know, brains, and we bleed like everybody else. So it's like we receive that negativity like any other person would. But she kind of keeps me grounded, and she kind of like makes me just put on my artist cap, and it's just like block out all that shit and continue what you're doing, because you have a fan base that loves you. And it's important to just, you know, continue to train to go to where you're going.
What's the best advice she or anyone else has given you that comes to mind right now? I'm sure there's a lot.
I think the best advice, it's weird because it's kind of like a robotic way of approaching it, but it's just like everything is emotional, and we have the ability to reason and determine what affects us. So I say it's a robotic way of approaching a situation because you could read it and it's up to you to decide whether it's going to affect you or not. But that's like a point to where you just don't give a fuck. And I would love to reach that art, because it's an art at the end of the day. Like, it's emotional intelligence. So I think when I have positive people in my corner just reassuring me and reminding me that this is what it is, and this is what comes with it, it helps me kind of just become immune to that other side that I don't like, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. I mean, people get it from different things. I get it a little bit from Buddhism. It's just like the practice of being detached from results and just kind of trying to focus on being present. So whether it's support group, religions, for like, I think a lot of things lead in that path so that we can get through situations like that where it's just kind of like, okay, this is just somebody's opinion, and there's a bunch of other opinions out there. And it's where I choose to focus my mind is what's going to affect my happiness at the end of the day.
Right.
I saw last year that you partnered up, I think, with an organization in Sacramento, and you gave
scholarships for kids.
Scholarships, like 20 scholarships for women. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why that's important to you to give back to the community?
So I eventually would like to come up with my own charity, but because I'm so busy, I thought that it'd just be best to support a charity that's, you know, from where I'm from, so that I can support it. And what I love about scholarships for kicks is that they're all about supporting women from my area. So not only is it about, you know, giving back to my hometown, it's about me giving back to people who I see myself in, which is, of course, women. And as a young girl, like, college wasn't realistic for me because my parents didn't go to college. So when my mom would talk, when my mom would talk to me about college, I didn't take her serious. And not because I didn't respect her, but it's just kind of like, I don't even know what college is. So when we did that, I went back to talk to girls about my experience. Girls who were once in my position, who were the first people to go, the first generation, that's what they call it, to go to school. And I think it's important for girls to see someone who's like them, who's went through it, so that they know it's real. Because at the end of the day, it's about it feeling like it's achievable. Because if you don't feel like it's achievable, you're not going to care about it. And that's how I felt. And that's why I applied the night before the deadline was due. Like, I literally, like, waited until, like, 11:58. Like, I'm not, like, if my internet went out, it would have been over for me. So I think it's just important to just give back to the youth and just talk to them so that they know that it's, you know, real.
Take me to that moment. I saw some pictures of you, like, in a classroom talking to women. What was it like to go from the experience that you said of not even thinking that college was a reality to actually being in front of women who are thinking about college and being able to be on the other side of that where you're encouraging that?
Well, college has made me a very confident woman when it comes to, like, you know, dealing with business, dealing with people who I'm not familiar with, how I communicate. So I'd love for women who come from my background to have that experience so that they're able to dominate in, you know, whatever the industry they choose. And I feel like it was important for me to go back and share my story so that they feel like it's not just a infomercial. Like, hey guys, go to school, I'm gonna pay for that shit. Right. So when they know it's a real person standing behind, like, a real message, I think that it registers with them more. And the fact that I was able to provide some type of financial stability for them just just like makes me happy, because when you broke and you in college, or when you broke and you can't pay for your tuition, and then not only are you worried about that, you're worried about studying, you're worried about going to your 9 to 5, and you're worried about having a good time, because why not have a good time in college? I'm happy I was able to take that relief of I was happy I was able to give them that relief.
If I can grant you a wish right now of creating any type of organization, like nonprofit organization, what would you want to focus on? I mean, I don't have to grant you a wish. You're a superstar. You already got some money, so let me take that away.
Grant me that wish with some money. So if I were to, start a scholarship for women, I definitely make it Northern California based, and I target the low-income community of ethnic women, only because I feel like just being from that and seeing even where my friends in high school were from, like, it's unfortunate, but like a lot of people from my class weren't that successful, and it's not their fault. It's because we weren't able to provide, insight to the steps that needed to be taken. And like I said, like, they didn't have someone who they saw themselves in come in and take time to talk to us. So I would focus on that group, because education and learning is so empowering. And I feel like, why not live your best life, and why not be given these resources to ensure that you can just do everything you're supposed to do? Because working that 9 to 5 and doing that routine is not, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but it's just like, you're not really living. And I've been blessed to be put in the position to not only live what I'm passionate about, but give that opportunity to other people. So I'd like to just focus on that group, because I feel like it's important to take care of people. It's important to take care of your people, and my people is in Northern California.
For sure. Yeah, I do a lot of outreach at high schools, and you go into schools where economically there's issues, where a lot of the kids are not thinking about college. They're not thinking about doing the things they love, because there's nobody in there being like, well, what do you love? Why don't you turn that into career? Right. Everyone's in there just kind of being like, well, UPS or Army, or like the options are so limited.
No, you say the Army. Like, I was like this close to going to the Army, only because when I started to consider college, I realized that I wouldn't be able to afford it. And when you kind of have that attitude towards school to where you don't want to be it anyway, so why would I go to college? Yep. So it's like, why don't I just consider the Army? They'll pay for my shit. I don't have to worry about being an adult off tops after graduation. So yep. I was like this close.
When I was in college, I used to go speak to schools, and sometimes I would go to private schools, and there'd be like maybe like one Army, but it'd be like Princeton, Harvard, USC, UCLA, all those different people. I'd go to public schools, and it would be like Army, Navy, like every single one, and I would be sitting next to them usually, and their pitch was all like, well, your parents can't afford for you to go to college, and like, you can't do this, and you can't do that. Do you want to put that financial burden on your family? And I was like, I grew up with a single mom, first generation immigrant. Right. Like, I got a scholarship to go to college, so you can do it. Like, don't fall into like, that's the only option you have. If that's what you want to do, that's great. I'm not here to say what you should or shouldn't do, but the fact that I feel like our communities so often are sold that certain things are their only option is what I have a problem with.
The glass ceiling.
Yep. So I'm glad you're speaking on that. What's next?
What's next?
I mean, you have your release party tonight.
So I have
immediately next.
My release party out tonight. I have the icy chains coming soon. I have icy merch, velour suits, and cotton sweatsuits.
Oh, you're going in.
I have lip gloss. I have that tour coming up with Cardi. I have a lot of dope festival dates. I'm booked for all of the Rolling Louds. I'm booked for the Wireless Fest. And I'm just about to be a promoting ass artist, because I mean, who can do it better than yourself? So I'm just trying to think of creative ways to really just implement my music into this culture and just making it fun, because this EP is like, it's just a lot of fun. And I'm excited, but I'm nervous because, like I said, it's been a year since High Maintenance, and so much has happened, and I just really hope that I'm able to, like I mentioned before, put on my artist cap and persevere through, this sea of unpredictability when it comes to being an artist in the social media age.
Is there anything we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
I think that this is just my year. And not my year as far as being, the most publicized, but just my year of just really finding out who I am as an artist. And I think it's really important that new artists like myself have artist development. So I think that's what I'm going to focus on this year, because I really want to be perfect. And although, I can't really be that, I like to strive to be, because I really want to make my mark in music. And you can only do that with practice. And practice makes perfect.
This is true. I mean, I think you hit on a really great point that I think it's overlooked. I think back in the days, young artists had a long time to develop before they would even do anything that was public facing. Right? It's like they would work, they'd go in the studio for years, and it's like maybe a song would come out.
Yeah.
Now it's like the audience gets to watch you while you're developing, and
Real
it's like
time.
sometimes you're going to try things that maybe you like or you don't like or whatever, but it's like you're doing it in real time where like people get to like give you instant validation or criticism while you're trying to figure out like what your different lanes are.
Definitely.
Which is definitely challenging, I think, in this new era.
And you know what? Like, I think like lanes is always coming up, especially, for female artists, but I think I've learned that I have no lane. Like, I really don't. And I feel like the more music I put out, the more people will realize that, because every sound that I've touched on is, an entity of me. So it's like, who's to say what my lane is? They're always telling me, your lane is wide open. No, all the lanes is open. And I'm going to be swerving all up and through that motherfucker. You feel me?